Yes.
Thank
Carry
you,
on.
Moria. You're the expert, you're a magician.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get started. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. So my name is Vincent Ribière, and Moria and I, Moria Levy, he also, we are both running this knowledge management, KMGN Knowledge Global Network research community. So we have been meeting maybe for 5 or 6 times now since the beginning of last year. And every time we try to bring new topic and new research in progress or research that are a bit more advanced to the group. So for us to discuss and learn from each other. So let me just share my screen, and we can just tell you, we always have some new member who join the community, so we can say a few words about this. But even before that, you may have heard about the passing of Larry Prusak, and who's considered as one of the father of knowledge management. And Moria and I thought that it'd be nice to spend few or to say a few words about him and his life. So Moria, I will pass the screen to you to say a few words about Larry. Thank you.
Thank you. So indeed, we are meeting on the right day because I think that it's a too noticeable leader that we can ignore his passing away without saying anything. So by coincidence, we are lucky, or fate, that really today we are meeting and we can say a few words in his honor. So Larry Prusak, to those who didn't know him, was one of the KM leaders worldwide, one of the pioneers that started the KM movement. And he was the director of the research of knowledge strategies. And he even, I would say, he established knowledge management studies, and probably was one of the first ones, if not the first one, who has established it as a school and as a studies, and a regular studies for masters. And he taught in several universities, and he taught until really recently. He was a practitioner, he was a writer, he was a researcher, and that's important to say in such a group like we have here. And he has written several books, as Vincent has put here on the slide, but I think that the most important, and a lot of them he wrote with Tom Davenport, which is also a legend, but I think that the most important and most impressive book is Working Knowledge. And I won't speak too long about Working Knowledge. I went today to my summaries and started reading again, even the summaries, and I said, wow, 25 years passed by, and every sentence almost we have to relearn today. So I won't go through all the details, even though I can take these 200 pages and speak about them and give the essence in 20 minutes. I want to take one point and to open my eyes again, because Larry Prusak, even though he was an IBMer and he was high ranked, he was an executive director in IBM for knowledge management, but it came because he was already executive director there. He believed that the key to good knowledge management is in the culture. And the culture is the most important thing for KM. However, we all say that. And that's why I want to give one point from his book of Working Knowledge, because he looks at the knowledge map, and I want to open my eyes and maybe your eyes as well. And he looks at the knowledge market in organizations and worldwide. And he says, dear people, we pay when we buy, when we give, when we take knowledge. But the way we pay, the way we get paid is not by cash, not by coins, not by bills. There are 4 aspects or 4 components when we're speaking about payment systems in knowledge management and in knowledge at all. One is reciprocity. That's one way to get paid. Another way is by reputation. The third reason why people share knowledge is not only because they get reshared again or they get honored because of their reputation, but because of altruism. And we see in our communities of KMGN how many people are working with no hard-coded reason, because they believe that KM should be better and we all want to work for KM being better. So the third payment system is the altruism. And the last one is trust, because we trust one another. And when we trust people, we are willing to share our knowledge with them. So one idea from Larry Prusak, paying systems in the knowledge market, reciprocity, repute, altruism, and trust. May his soul rest in peace, and may we fulfill his vision of a new, better world based on knowledge management, based on knowledge organizations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Moria, for these very nice words. And Barbara mentioned that you had met him. You want to say a few words, Barbara, or share?
No, I was very lucky to work for almost a decade at NASA and with Ed Hoffman, Ed Rogers, and through that work, I was able to meet with Larry a couple of times. But his work was like full of, I mean, NASA absorbed a lot of his thinking, and he was a longtime collaborator. And you can see from the last book that was just published now, the Smart Mission, that's his latest contribution to the work that NASA was doing around knowledge management. So a great influence around large organizations.
Thank you very much, Barbara. For me, I never got chance to, well, I attended some events where he was a speaker, but we never got chance to interact very much. So I could not say I knew him, but of course I knew his work, but I didn't know the man itself. But yeah, everyone that I know who have been working with him or collaborating with him had a high respect for him and really liked the guy and the thinker. Great, so he will for sure be missed. And so let's now that we have a bit more members who joined, let's move to our topic today. So again, for those of you who are new to this KMGN research community, I mean, it's quite very informal community. We try to meet once a month, and we try to discuss different KM-related topic or different research at different stage of maturity. We have also a WhatsApp group, so you can feel free to join this WhatsApp group. We can share additional information in between the time we meet. And we will, of course, welcome anyone to join this group. We have also a YouTube channel where you can watch some of the past sessions that we had. They are all recorded, and so if you miss some of them or if there are some topics that seem very attractive to you, you can watch them back. They're all available freely on our YouTube channel. So you can go to the KMGN YouTube channel, and then you will see there's different groups or subgroups and a watch list, and then later on you can find the one on about the research community. Now we've created also a very short survey. So I sent you, and I apologize for that. I had some issues with my account, my Google account. So every time I was sending you the link, you were not able to access it. And this may explain a little bit the lack of response. But we will be really thankful if you will take, again, there are 3 main questions on this survey. So you should take no more than than 5 minutes to answer to this question. We will be really thankful if you will take a few minutes to tell us a bit about what you're doing or what research you are quite interested in, and also if some of you might be interested in being our future or sharing their research in the future. We already got, I think, around 20 of you who have answered the survey, and we could see that some of you already nicely agreed to be our future speaker. So we will get in touch with you very soon. But I'm going to share through the chat. I'm going to share again the link to the survey. So again, it takes a few minutes to do it. So please help us to make this community even more interesting to you. And by collecting this basic information, I think we can help to better target and better provide content that might be of interest to you. Okay, so that's roughly about it for today. So I'm very pleased and delighted that Pierre Saulais, Dr. Pierre Saulais, who's an old friend of mine, French friend, who I met through one of our common KM guru, I could say. So his name is Jean-Louis Hermine. Some of you may have heard about him. He's maybe the French knowledge management guru. And so Pierre was a PhD student of Jean-Louis Hermine. And so that's how we got a chance to meet, also through the KM French club. And so I don't know how long ago it was, but it's many years ago. And since then we have been we stayed in touch with Pierre, and Pierre nicely accepted to join our research center at Bangkok University. So he's part of our associate researcher. And Pierre has been, even so, sometime after PhD, students kind of drop their research, but for Pierre, this PhD was really the beginning of his, I think, research and publication journey. So he has been very productive and co-authored some books with Jean-Louis Hermine that I was mentioning about. But today is here to talk to us about knowledge and ideation, which are the topic of his latest book that he will touch on today. And that's a very novel way to look at knowledge and in innovation. And so hopefully you will learn a lot of new things from his approach. And so let me just stop sharing, and I will leave the screen to you, Pierre. And so if you have not yet bought it, oh, sorry, the background you should for sure get a copy of his latest book. But I'm sure after his presentation, you will get a better sense of what it is all about. Pierre, the screen is yours. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Vince. So I share the screen.
Yes.
So is it okay for everyone?
Yes, we can see your screen. Yes. Yeah.
Just get the screen. So now I will spend a few minutes talking you about the knowledge and ideation book with the subtitle Inventive Knowledge Analysis for Ideation Stimulation. So this is the synthesis of the past 10 years of work, mainly about inventive knowledge. To begin with a short presentation of myself, I have not been always in the knowledge management field, but I had a first professional life as an industrial practitioner, long life, 39 years as an engineer, and mainly in the research and development upstream studies. So in high-tech defense industry, and mainly in electromagnetism and modeling part. During this professional life, I was also a lecturer. I have been also lecturer for 43 years in engineering science. I am still lecturer in engineering science, mainly in microwaves, electronics, networks, electronic networks, data science, and so on. So at the end of this first life, I got the impression that I got many knowledge, technical knowledge, both as an innovation actor and research and development manager. And I wanted to capitalize, share, and transfer this knowledge. That is the reason why I decided during the last year of my industrial life to prepare a PhD in the field of knowledge management. And for 14 years now, I have been a research actor and lecturer in human and social science, mainly in knowledge-based innovation and inventive knowledge. So this I can say that during my first life, I got a lot of technical knowledge, and I will say that this technical knowledge feeds my activity as a researcher in knowledge management. So this diagram gives at a glance the full representation of the book. So you can start from knowledge, general knowledge, with the knowledge-based innovation process. And after that, we switch to the inventive knowledge. So of course, to go from general knowledge to inventive knowledge, we have to make an individual analysis based on criterion. So I will detail all these things. After having identified some inventive knowledge, you have to, of course, represent it using a dematerialized knowledge object concept. So you forget the product, the technical object as a product, and you consider it as a dematerialized knowledge object using cognitive map and feeding some inventive intellectual corpus, so which is a part of the knowledge capital devoted to inventive knowledge. With this inventive knowledge, then with the global analysis and using an inventive knowledge map, which is an extension of the cognitive map devoted to inventive knowledge, you got a cognitive stimulus feeding the Icarus method. So I will detail this method after, using intellectual property concept, creativity concept, inventivity concept, and then passing from inventing knowledge to new inventive knowledge through inventive knowledge generation. After that, you will feed again the intellectual corpus and make a large capitalization of all this new inventive knowledge. Of course, through, for instance, the innovation invention innovation activity files, which is to be written on a year basis. And we will see that this capitalization through a global analysis, the capitalization of the inventive knowledge in the inventive intellectual corpus, this leads to many applications, some managerial application, like getting a strategy or getting a contribution to strategic technical plan, contribution to strategic surveillance, also contribution to building a patent knowledge base, contribution to the publication policy, contribution to the description of inventing activity for the research tax credit, and of course for the contribution to the innovation management. So those are many managerial applications and some other application which I call the inventive knowledge management application, such as knowledge-based knowledge assessment, that is for teachers, inventing profile engineering, and knowledge-based ideation. So this is the main presentation of the whole book. This book is divided into 4 parts: inventive knowledge and inventive intellectual corpus, some recalls about knowledge-based innovation, inventive activity and visibility of inventive potential, and some perspectives. So we will start with a few words about nature of inventive knowledge. So when we consider the progress in knowledge evaluation change in the data information knowledge wisdom chain, of course, inventive knowledge lies somewhere between knowledge and wisdom. So it starts from information-based representation, highlighting realities from the world, but only with inventive characteristic, and with the ability, that is the metacognition level, ability to activate structure knowledge and understanding in order to establish and reach objective of creation. Some definition about inventive knowledge. If we start in very general terms, we can say that inventive knowledge is the knowledge necessary for the development of a technical invention. So all what I studied is in the frame of techniques. And so I will speak of my experience in the industry where we are dealing with the technical objects. So inventive knowledge necessary for the development of a technical invention that can generate intellectual property rights, being recognized as novel, as inventive, and also as able to be applicated. Then we have to make the difference between current and fruitful ideas. What we can say about current ideas? Current ideas, it's ideas when we think that come when we look for them. So we are looking for a new application or derivation of something existing. And then some idea comes that is what we call the current ideas, but those ideas will not be characterized as inventive. And we have fruitful ideas. These ideas are in perpetual becoming. They are arising when we are not looking for them. And they are able to generate deep inventive knowledge. So we introduce a concept of depth of inventive knowledge. So we have from one part the current ideas, and from the other part, fruitful ideas able to generate deep inventive knowledge. Then I first introduce a situational criterion based on brevetability. And I can say that we are facing an inventive knowledge when you are facing a situation with a technical problem such that the technical problem cannot be solved by a person skilled in the art with the current state of knowledge in the field. So it falls under scientific and or technological uncertainty. It requires complementary and new specific exploratory investigation works. So it falls under the exploratory fields. And its resolution is accompanied by the creation of significant knowledge that substantially enriches the states of knowledge. So it falls under enrichment of the state of the art of the scientific and technical community. So this is the first criterion about inventive knowledge, which is a situational criterion, which corresponds to the first level of my Icarus method. And at the end of the presentation, I will introduce an epistemological criterion for the second level of the method. So introducing the Icarus method based on creativity. So the important thing to consider is now we are in the field of incremental innovation. So there is a technical object which is existing, and the purpose is to analyze the knowledge existing in this technical object to get some incremental innovation. So we are analyzing the present state of the technical object, and analyzing this, we can think of elements of proposal for study plans to improve this technical object. So we want to add functionality, we want to add a new performance for this technical object. Then we propose some studies to be done, and we can consider that realizing these studies is a mean to acquire new inventive knowledge. When we will have completed the studies, we will have acquired new knowledge. And of course, the acquisition of the new knowledge is a means to improve knowledge of the knowledge object, which is the future technical object. So we have a first state of knowledge on our technical object. We want to improve it into a future technical object. And we have to go through improvement of the knowledge of this knowledge object. And this improvement of knowledge of the knowledge object is the means to differently and better carry out existing operating function or to carry out new innovative operating function. Of course, we have to represent and analyze this inventive knowledge. As I said, technical object is not considered as a product, but as a knowledge object. So we forget all the physical characteristic of the technical object, and we only consider the knowledge contained its knowledge object. And we have to characterize it both from intrinsic and extrinsic point of view. Intrinsic when we consider the object alone, an extrinsic point of view when you consider the interaction of the object with its systemic medium. So to give a concrete example, I was involved in many radar projects, so you can consider which is the electromagnetic detection device, and you can consider it as an object in itself. But of course, as the radar is transmitting and receiving electromagnetic waves towards the medium, you have many interactions between the object and the medium. So this object is considered as part of the knowledge that the observer must acquire to reach the intimate object, the intimate knowledge of this object. So you know the object up to a certain limit, and then you have to determine what new logic you must acquire to know better in a more intimate manner this object. For instance, if we consider objects determined or elements determined by their length, so you can consider objects with a scale of 1 meter, for instance, of 1 millimeter, of 1 micrometer, of 1 nanometer. At each scale, you have a different different aspects of knowledge. So this principle, the principle is to improve knowledge of the knowledge object and to structure this knowledge into knowledge domain, each domain seen by a complex system, functional, structural, and applicative point of view, which was developed. This method was developed by Jean-Louis Hermine. So we can use to represent the objects. We can use cognitive maps. So, for instance, this radar object has several subdomains. Some domains are hardware, like generation, reception, digital processing, and so on. Some other subdomains of knowledge are the physical medium and environment. Another domain is modeling. Another domain, algorithms. Another domain, system architecture. So let's make a loop about algorithm. Then, if we consider algorithm used in radar, you can split them into several groups. One group is by a functional point of view, or a structural point of view, or applicative point of view. So between the functional point of view, you have a number of functions to be realized. for a structural point of view, you can see if this function deals with time domain, frequency domain, probability-based domain, statistic-based domain, and so on. And from applicative, this algorithm may be a support to processing or to control and command. So everything about some algorithm, for example, can be described using this representation. Then this diagram shows what I already mentioned about the situational criterion of inventive activity. That is to say, how to extract the inventive activity from the general inventive knowledge from the general knowledge. So I use the patentability method, which is the reconstitution of the mental progress of the invention with. So first, formalize the technical problem, then describe prior art to understand what is blocking the technical expert, explain the difference between what is the present state and what we will like to do, and what kind of specific works are to be launched, and then going to solve technical problems, and of course understanding all the steps of this method, and extracting and formalizing design choices. And all this can enrich the state of knowledge. But it is not enough. You have to characterize what you have extracted through a number of questions. For instance, what is the finality? Don't forget that you have to applicate the future technical object will have a technical application. So what is the finality? What can you create? So you can create a new function, but with the new information or the new knowledge you have got, you can derive the complementary applications. So what will be the effective use? What are the interaction between this new technical object and his environment? And what are the limits? So about the new inventive knowledge, can we identify the limits? So are they very, very difficult to acquire or to activate, and so on? So you have first a reconstitution of the mental progress, and after that, a number of questions about the finality, interaction, limits. So we can see that this generation of inventive knowledge belongs to the metacognition fields. So you have a technical invention, you analyze the inventive activity, which gives you new inventive knowledge by analyzing the structure of the knowledge included in the inventive activity. And of course, this will feed the inventive intellectual corpus. So now it is interesting to consider that there are some relationships between innovation, invention, and intellectual property. and to consider the role of knowledge between all of them. So very basically, the link between intellectual property rights and innovation is the property role of industrial property, which encourages innovation with the right to operating monopoly. Between industrial property rights and invention, of course, you have a direct support of invention patents and indirect methodological support for invention patents. You have also a link between invention and industrial property rights, such as granting of patent licenses. I give you the possibility of having different partnerships. And between innovation and industrial property rights, of course, you can protect in your innovation through brands, designs, and models. But of course, the link, the bridge between these three terms, invention, innovation, and intellectual property, is the inventive knowledge. So we can consider here a relation between knowledge creation and intellectual property. So we have here the Icarus method. So from knowledge-based innovation method, which make the analysis of inventive intellectual corpus, which can lead to ideation. Then we have a creator which creates, which has some technical invention which it can formalize them, and we consider that the individual is there a psychological subject which has made us creation, and of course this psychological subject creates a work. And this formalized inventive knowledge, of course, fulfills the inventive intellectual corpus, but this invention can be considered as a work of the mind which gives some rights, some intellectual property rights, with a part of patrimonial rights like intangible assets, and which fulfill intelligible capital which belong to the organization of the subject. But the subject can see the preservation of his moral rights, and with his moral rights, the subject becomes an author, not only a psychological subject, but now an epistemic subject. So we can consider that the work of the mind creates the author. And of course, we have the indissolubility of the creator-author and his work. And this loop is very fundamental for innovation and ideation. So we have spoken of individual inventive knowledge. Then, of course, after individual, we got to knowledge capital and inventive intellectual corpus. So knowledge capital is the recollection of all general knowledge, and the inventive intellectual corpus, the recollection of inventive knowledge. So this comes from the virtuous circle of knowledge management designed by Jean-Louis Hermine, with the strategic analysis of knowledge corpus, capitalization, transfer, and innovation. The knowledge capital model for general model can be described with an actor, A, with his own knowledge, K. Here is the information system, I, and using the Nonaka theory, we can describe the relation between the system information, the knowledge, and the actors. Coming now to the inventive intellectual corpus, we have the same kind of organization. Now we can see the physiological individual. This individual is a technical expert, is an expert in a field of knowledge, mainly technical, but it also may be a commercial expert or strategic expert. This knowledge actor has two parts. So the psychological individual and his own inventive knowledge. The system information of the inventive activity is represented by some documents, for instance, patents, invention documents, with respect to research task credit, for instance, studies, publication, thesis, internship reports, and so on. And the dematerialized inventive intellectual corpus is what is existing or newly curated knowledge, which is actor-specific, which is set up for conceptual works that could lead to intellectual property rights. So now we're saying a few words about knowledge-based innovation. So in an industrial productive context, the question is, what is the place for the knowledge capital? So we have basically two models. The main model, which is the problem to solution model. So the market is asking for a new product or a new service. And the innovative problem solving can respond to the market through some ideas. So this is the prevailing model which use creative problem solving methods. And we have another model, which is the one which is addressed by Icarus, when you go from ideation to innovation. So you start from scratch. So you have some idea, and then this idea gives you a prospect of an innovative product that you propose to the market. When we consider this model, of course, we have under-exploitation of the knowledge capital with this model prevailing and this model not controlled, and that is where the Icarus method has some role to play. In the ideation mode, so we can use the well-known knowledge-based innovation process from the analysis of existing knowledge in the knowledge capital with the history of ideas, genealogy of solutions. This analysis allows to identify evolution law and potential innovation pits, which can lead to innovating proposal, innovating design, and which fulfill the knowledge capital. We have two hypotheses, an evolutionist hypothesis. Evolution is based on the existing knowledge capital of the firm, and path dependency, future evolution, are determined by past evolution. Then we have to use the principle of emergence with which is the example of a chaotic process, so characterized by the sensitivity to initial conditions. So your chaotic evolution can be represented with energy, which gives a variation to a medium, which create new structures with feedback to the medium. And with this feedback, there is a process of emergencies. We give new properties of the system, and with also which need a stabilization. And what is not useful for the organization is left out, like entropy. If we apply this principle of emergence to evolutionist hypothesis, then you replace the energy by a stimulus coming from intellectual corpus analysis. And you have to create knowledge through a reason iteration with internal, external environment. You can create new knowledge. We give you new competencies and new capacities, and with a strategic alignment with the objectives of the firm, you can transform these competencies into capacities, and the non-strategic capacities are left. Then you have the individual knowledge generation concept, which is at the heart of the IKEROS method. So IKEROS stands for Intellectual Corpus Analysis for Reason Open-Minded Stimulation. And you can find the representation of the general knowledge-based innovation process, that now we have the inventive intellectual corpus, for which we have an analysis of the knowledge structure lying in the inventive intellectual corpus. So you have to analyze inventive tracks, the temporal behavior of tracks, strategic tracks, motivation, which is the cognitive stimulus. And then you use the emergence process to get inventive knowledge generation, which will fulfill inventive intellectual corpus. So it is not enough to generate inventive ideas or inventive knowledge. The main concern is what you do with that. If you have inventive knowledge, but in a department of your firm, and nobody else knows what happens in that department, so it will not be very interesting. So all this inventive knowledge constitute what I call an inventive potential. And this inventive potential has to be shared, has to be capitalized and shared with the company. So what can we see? We have an injunction. We made an analysis of local inventive activity. We valued this inventing activity through implementation. So this is the level of the elementary level. Then we can imagine some annual file, which I call the invention innovation activity files. So in this file, we can note every inventive activity in all the departments of the firm. And so this, of course, will fill the inventive intellectual corpus. And after that, we have to make a global analysis of the content of this of the invention innovation activity file of the year. We have to project the result of the analysis in some inventive knowledge map. And with this projection, we can imagine numerous applications. So we have individual level. After that, we collect all the individual levels in some files, for example, and we can analyze not only the new inventive knowledge, but also the interaction of the new inventive knowledge and the existing inventive intellectual corpus by a global analysis. And we have a projection of all this. So first individual, secondly capitalization, and third global analysis and projection on some map. And now we have a map of inventive knowledge, and we will see many applications of this map. So this is to make the inventive potential visible. Of course, we can consider that having not only the collection, but also the analysis and also the graphic projection. This is a powerful management in itself. So the firm can know what they have done during the past year in every domain, and this on a synthetic view. But this is not an end in itself, but the beginning of a virtuous circle, because if you share the results with all inventive contributors, then this will stimulate each contributor, which become an actor of the knowledge sharing of inventive knowledge. And also, of course, this represents a deep cultural change in management. So the main concern is to ensure coherence between strategy and technical communication application on the general director leaving, on the inventive knowledge actors. So here you have managers, here you have individuals, and here you have the concept of inventive knowledge management. So you must ensure coherence between the organization, the people, and the process. So let's have a look at some managerial applications. So when you have realized the analysis of inventive activity and project on knowledge map, you can pass from, you can go from inventive intellectual corpus to decision aids. So this in the domain of research and technology planning. So the plan will be filled with not with wishes from the general management, but from consideration from the inventors in sales. Of course, you can apply this decision to strategic surveillance, to the publication policy, and of course to the innovation management. Another application is to build patent information systems. So this, so when you are dealing with intellectual property rights, so intellectual property in general, you can discover that an invention patent is a source of many technical and technical knowledge, and the many information. So from the intellectual property firms, you can collect the text submitting the different research report, etc., the inventors by file. But also you have many information from inside your company, so you can realize the taxonomy of your patent portfolio. You can analyze the content of the technical expertise. You can do some multi-criteria analysis by file, and after that, by thematic group. You can also present all this information. So here is an example of the constitution of a patent information database with the external contribution and the internal contribution. So you have a large number of technical information, content expertise, and you can use all this information during every steering committee. So when you are managing a patent portfolio, so this costs a lot of money. So you have to ask yourself if you need new patents, if you still have to pay for the current patents, if you have to extend them to some countries and so on. So you can, during each steering committee, of course, you have to capitalize all the decision and the motivations of the decision. And the most important is the motivation of the decision to go on or to abandon a patent, or to make a new extension to a new, and all this information can be put into a database, and you can sort all the information. And for instance, all the geographical extension per inventions, all the inventions by theme of activity, all themes by invention. So some invention can have application in several fields, and of course you have to examine what all these analysis through time. So this is the D over dt signification of this symbol. So you can see that there are a difference between there are two levels of knowledge. So this is the basic knowledge external contribution. So we saw in the last slide is administrative, the text, research report, and so on, all the administrative information which are managed by the IP firm. But here, when you analyze the real inventive activity that leads lies into your invention, this is something which is of high level. So this is basic information. But this is a very high level information. What is for what reason your invention is using inventive knowledge, and what can be do with that. So this is the domain of expertise of the expert of the firms, and the interest of your patent information database, and that you have all kind of information, the administrative and financial and geographical information, and all the expertise information, and this is used as decision aid for the management of the patent portfolio. Another kind of publication of application is the publication policy. So everyone knows that the difference of a publication and a patent. So when you consider some scientific and technical progress, when you have described prior art, explain the difference, understand the step, and so on, what you will do with that? So you can publish or you can patent, and the difference is that it's better to publish when it deals with the explanation of phenomena and experimental conditions, and when you so that is the principles, and when you are speaking of results, application means it's more patent. So the inventive activity can be either published or patent, depending on the criticality of the inventive knowledge. But of course, whatever you do, you have to capitalize it. So I mentioned the research tax credit activity. It is a very interesting approach, and you can extend it to capitalize on year-by-year basis all what you declare for the research tax credit. You have to collect it in some innovation file. That is to say that you take benefit of you have a mandatory activity to ask for research tax credit. You must justify that you make some applicative research. Then you have to prove it, and in many companies, when you have proved it, it's finished. But I think that it's not an end, but a beginning. And what you have done, so justify the inventive part of your applied research, then you have to extend this approach to all your activity, not only on invention, but also on innovation. So we can implement all these elements into this file, and this file is annual photography of your inventive activity. Then we can consider that we have a new profession. New profession is the inventive activity expert. So the inventive activity expert is the technical expert who extract the inventive part from some technical activity, from the global, from the general knowledge. So his role is to extract inventive knowledge, but of course, this is a technical expert, and he must be associated with cognitive scientists or connectician and strategist to feed inventive knowledge map and to analyze all this the result of the projection in inventive knowledge maps and to propose plans, because as usual, valorization of inventive knowledge is done by putting it into action. So we can consider a new activity, a new profession, inventive activity expert. And this person is the knowledge manager or cognition. And for me, I had the chance of being both, being a technical expert from one part and a cognitive researcher. So it was easier for me to imagine this kind of organization. Now we arrive to the perspectives. So some application different from the managerial application. So we have seen a lot of managerial application. Then some another applications, which I call knowledge-based knowledge assessment. So this is based on my own experience. So I said that I am a lecturer. I am still a lecturer in science engineering, and I try to use what I learn in the knowledge management field to improve my efficiency as a teacher. So this part deals with the transformation of the teacher researcher into an expert of the knowledge assessment. So what could be an expert in a knowledge assessment? So you, as a teachers, you have students. Students must be asked to pass evaluation exam, and the concern of the teacher is to determine how to make sure that the knowledge is acquired by students. But what knowledge? So this is a very important question. What knowledge is to be evaluated? So first thing is to assess the credibility and the evaluation of the knowledge transmitted with regard to the future use that the professional environment will require of future engineers in the professional field considered. So, of course, as I am I was previously a practitioner in my domain. I know exactly in the domain where I give lectures. I know by my own experience. I know what is important to be transmitted, and I make the constatation that what is important to transmit is not some by heart knowledge, but essentially reasoning. That is the most important, because when you are a practitioner, you can open every book, every technical book you want, but what is important is to know how the knowledge from a book can solve your technical problem. So from that point of view, it is important to determine what are the knowledge and how to assess them. So this is, of course, on a multi-years basis, because you can have a model 1 year, which is the requisite for a modulus from the next year. So you have to have some systemic analysis approach between the different components of the curriculum. And also another point is to stimulate the reflectivity of all students. And in the book, I gave a full case study. So in data science department and probabilities and statistics, where I make some experiment. So I had more than 200 students, and I organized a double session with 2 different groups, but a form very very close, different by close, with a stimulated group and control group, and all the results are in the book.
Pierre, we still have 10 minutes, sorry. So if we want to have a bit of time for Q&A, maybe you can try to wrap up. Yes.
Yes. So I skip all the all this knowledge-based ideation. I will note. I just want to say a few words about the inventive knowledge engineering and inventive profile engineering. So what I said is that what I said, it was applied to the whole knowledge capital or knowledge corpus of the firm, but you can apply to the knowledge corpus of one individual, and you can analyze what is the what this individual has made as inventive realization. You can display all his invention or his research results into a map, and then you can draw some inventive profile and try to help experts to still be creative, because the main concern of creative people in firms is that they are managed by non-creative managers. So with that kind of application, it is, I think, possible to have a reason support for creative management. Then some other perspectives. One is the exploration of non-creativity. So creativity is something very, very positive, but the problem of creativity is that it is in a firm is that managers are non-creative people. So it can be some interesting thing to study more deeply non-creativity, to find what can be done to improve this situation. And another perspective is what I call creatology of science of creation, is to study the genesis of the phenomenal state of mind, which is characteristic of creativity. And there is a very deep paradoxical paradox in creativity, which is how can a concept that could be conceived within the framework of actual thinking and expressed with actual theory be radically new? So how can you be creative if the result of the creation can be expressed in actual terms? So to be creative, have you to invent a new language, a new syntax, and so on. So to end my presentation, so it is the same representation. So we have a look at the inventive knowledge, the contribution to intellectual corpus, the use of intellectual corpus as a cognitive stimulus for Icarus method, enabling to generate inventive knowledge, and the numerous applications that we can do with the global analysis of the new inventive knowledge lying in the inventing intellectual corpus. And last slide, we have to consider that we go from knowing to knowledge. The approach of knowing is mainly abstractivity. Main driver is the dematerials knowledge, and we are going towards actionability. So through a strategic cartographic representation to fulfill inventive intellectual corpus, and to the stimulation of ideation by critical analysis of knowledge structure. And I will finish by this thought that ideation is considered as an epistemic mutation. Okay, and so Vincent mentioned the two previous books co-authored with Jean-Louis Hermine, but you have also to consider the Creative Loop book written by Jean-Louis Hermine, for which these two books are complementary. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Pierre. Very, very impressive work, and great to learn from you. So let's see if we have a question from the audience. So you gave us a lot of things to digest.
Yes.
It's the first time you see it. It might be a bit sounds a bit abstract, but yeah, I think by reading the book, people can better understand the details. So any question, comment, or suggestions? You can take the mic.
I have one
Yeah,
question.
yes.
Abhilash here. I am attending this first time. Thank you for the nice, great presentation. I think I just wanted to ask regarding this typical approach of trend radars and how these trend radars would play a role in feeding to the inventability kind of aspect. Because which is also because currently there is a lot of different trend radars provided by a lot of consulting organizations.
Sorry, I don't catch your question.
I was basically looking at the relationship possibly between the trend radars. There are a lot of radar like graphics and information provided by many of the top consulting like McKinsey or Gartner or
Yes.
similar, and how that would come into this picture you may present.
So you are speaking of the relationship between major consultant companies.
No, the graph, like I think I was because you mentioned about inventive knowledge and
Yes.
how that kind of comes out of the differentiates itself from that other knowledge by looking at patents or that kind of portfolio approach. So
Yes.
now many companies are coming up with some kind of trend sun diagrams or trend charts which provide information regarding that. I was mainly looking at that trend analysis and how that kind of relates in this picture, in this.
So in my knowledge, I do not know any company that use such knowledge base.
Trends,
So,
yeah. So I think he was speaking about trends, so maybe trend analysis. So how do trend analysis, for instance, play a role in feeding your inventive intellectual corpus? Are they part of the document? I mean, you had listed a couple of documents that could be used. Yes.
No, I didn't consider any trend. I think that I started with the existing products and so my approach is a technical one. I start from a product and I don't try to imagine what the product could be. So what the trend could be for this product. I analyze the knowledge and I try to have a better knowledge of this object. And when I have a better knowledge of this object, I see, well, with this new aspect, I could imagine some application, but it is not a product-based approach. It is a knowledge-based approach. So, for instance, I spoke about length scale. So if it is necessary to go from micro to micrometers to nanometers scale, then it opens so you have different laws between the element at the nanometer scales and at the micro level scales. So you discover, you analyze, you point out new laws which give you new knowledge, and this new knowledge gives you the idea of new applications. So it is driven by knowledge, not driven by product and trend in products.
Thank you.
Do we have any other question? I mean, I want to be mindful of time. We're already a bit over time, but if we have other questions. So, Pierre, I mean, I think it's, forgot who said that, but I think it might be Steve Jobs that says, well, innovation is connecting the dots, right? So, I mean, do you agree that for you, maybe innovation is connecting this inventive knowledge dots? Would you agree with that as a oversimplified summary of your of your work?
Yes, I will agree, but I will put in other terms. I will not say that innovation will fill the dots, but I will say that when you use new inventive knowledge, this can lead to innovation.
But it's by connecting these different, maybe some knowledge that are not inventive, some of them which is inventive, and that's by connecting them somehow, mixing them, that you are able to innovate. Correct?
Yes, you are able to innovate, but the innovation is not the starting point. It is the end.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
the
result.
The result, correct. And how do I mean, there are other knowledge-based innovation technique like trees, for instance.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
I mean, are they complementary to your approach, or can they play a role in your process?
So they are complementary. So the trees method is a CBS, so creativity, problem-solving approach. So the main idea is to search for something already realized and to examine if it can be applied in another field. So this is a creativity problem-solving method, and those are complementary but cannot be linked.
Okay, together they have a different objective, or they have a different approach. Okay, great. Well, thank you so very much, Pierre, for your amazing presentation today. I'm sure there is much more to be learned from your book. And this is something, just to clarify, also something that you have used and apply in your previous jobs. So that's something that works. It's not just
exactly.
Thinking and abstract stuff, but these are approach that you have used and demonstrated some benefits. So it's also important to mention.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you all very much for being here today. Again, this session was recorded, so you can watch it again and again to make sure that you got all aspects. Otherwise, please get the book. You will get all the information into it, and we will share also the email address of Pierre in our upcoming email. So, so if you want to get in touch with Pierre to exchange with him, I'm sure he will be happy to engage into such kind of discussions. Okay, so take a good care. Thank you all very much, and we will announce also the next session. Moria, you want to say a last word, or we are good to go? We are good to go. Thank you. Okay, thank you all very much. Merci beaucoup, Pierre, and à bientôt. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.